Hello again. Welcome, guys. Brand City weekly NBA recap, the host of sports and shorts of sorts. My name's Brand City, as I said. This is a weekly podcast I do every week. Been doing this NBA one. Let's keep rolling with it. Playoffs are going. Playoffs are looking great. Let's recap the playoffs and let's kind of see what's happened and what we think's going to happen next. So, like I said, it's been mostly hometown domination thus far in the playoffs, and let's just jump to the first series. I always jump to the Eastern Conference on our episodes throughout the year, so let's jump right to the East again, and we're going to jump to the Boston Celtics hosting the Miami Heat. And we know the Celtics, they had the best record in the NBA most of the season, and we knew the Miami Heat, they've made it to the finals from the 8th spot before, but they were coming in without Jimmy Butler. He sustained a knee injury in the play-in game against the Philadelphia 76ers, and it said he might miss the entirety of this series. We're yet to see what will happen there, but the game had to be played in Game 1 in Boston. It was all Celtics. You know, the Celtics started great, never really looked back. Jason Tatum picked up his first ever playoff triple-double. Former Spur Derek White, massive as well, real unsung hero in that starting lineup, who, as you've heard me mention many times on this show, I said they were the best starting five in the league, and they looked it. The Heat, they were really looking like they were missing Butler, lacking a scoring punch. At one point, the Celtics were up 34 in this game. The Heat made the scoreline respectable by the end, but it was a big punch to the mouth that the Heat did not handle well. And late in the game, there was a moment that, caused a little bit of a scuffle where Caleb Martin undercut Jason Tatum on a rebound. It was a hard fall. It looked bad, but Tatum bounced right back up. And like I said, there was a little gathering of players, words said, but a tough loss for the Heat. But that little bit of intensity in the closing moments kind of set the tone going in the game, too. And in Game 2, still in Boston, the Heat lived up to their name and got really hot from downtown. I mean, everyone was hitting threes. The Heat finished with a 23 three-pointers made, a new franchise playoff record for the team. My wife's favorite Heat player, Tyler Hero, he led the way for the visitors. He was a true hero, 24 points and an amazing 14 assists, really showing off his distribution skills. And in 23 of those 23 three-pointers the Heat made, 6 of them were from Tyler Hero. Fellow starters, Caleb Martin, Bam Adebayo, each dropped 21 points. Martin hitting 5 three-pointers and Bam collecting 10 rebounds to get a double-double. Rookie Yame Yaquez Jr., you heard me hyping him up earlier in the season when he was getting more minutes before the Terry Rozier trade. He and Nikola Jovic each reached double figures. Like I said, no one could miss for the Heat. It was crazy. Jaylen Brown, he led the Celtics with 33, and Jason Tatum had 28. But every time they looked to come back, the Heat would splash more threes. It was crazy. Kristaps Porzingis, man, what an awful night he had. 1 for 9 from the field, finishing with 6 points. I got to give a shout-out to @KevinCharles1983, who said on my Week 23 NBA recap that KP will fold in the playoffs. I know the series isn't done yet, but maybe he was on to something. Drew Holiday only shot 4 for 12 in that game, but I don't expect the Heat to be that hot again from three-point range, and I'm expecting Porzingis and Drew to shoot better in Miami. So Game 3 goes down Saturday afternoon. The Heat will be looking to take a lead in the series for the first time, and like I said, still no Jimmy Butler. He's probably missing the series, but we'll see what Miami can do in front of their home crowd and see if the Celtics can bounce back on the road. Definitely need more out of Porzingis in that one. I'll take us to another series in the Eastern Conference. The number 2 New York Knicks taking on the number 7 Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers started Game 1 off great, and they seemed to catch the hometown Knicks off guard. Embiid was looking great. In the second quarter, the Knicks were going on a little bit of a run, and Embiid threw this crazy dunk to himself off the backboard, but as he landed, it looked like he re-injured his knee. He'd go to the locker room. The Knicks would go on a run and take a 12-point lead in the halftime. Embiid would, luckily and for all our sakes, amazingly return in the second half, and the Sixers went on a little run. And on a night where Jalen Brunson, the all-star for the Knicks, when his shot wasn't going down, the bench really stepped up. Mitchell Robinson missed tons of time this season with that ankle injury, and I loved how he was playing before that injury. It was good to see him play great defense on Embiid. You can never really shut Embiid down, but if you can make him work hard for each basket, That's a good thing. Bojan Bogdanovic, his 13 points off the bench was big as well. But how about Deuce McBride? 21 off the bench. Had all of Madison Square Garden chanting, Deuce! Embiid put up big numbers, and Tyrese Maxey scored a game-high 33 in the loss, but Sixers did not get help elsewhere. Kyle Lowry was the third leading scorer, but yeah, that's not really going to help there. Maxey, I mentioned he was the leading scorer in game one. Also have to give him kudos. He took home the most improved award this past season. His great play led to his first All-Star appearance, and his great play really was the reason why the Sixers survived to make the playoffs with that Embiid injury that kept him out for all those games. If you've listened to this podcast before, you've heard me talk of Kobe White of Chicago Bulls. I thought this was his to win because I thought we all thought Maxey was him already. But I mean, he's dropped some 50 burgers this year. He made his first All-Star game. I'm not mad at the call, you know. All he needed was James Harden to leave and kind of let him do his thing. And he's done his thing and then some. But hey, enough trophy talk. Let's get back to game two. This was one hell of a game. Game one, the Knicks had it wrapped up. But game two was a coin flip. This was going back and forth. Embiid and Maxey playing like the best 1-2 punch in the NBA. Embiid, 34 points, 10 boards, 6 dimes. Maxey, 35 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. Barely missing out on a playoff triple-double. Knicks All-Star Jalen Brunson again struggling from the field. 8 for 29. He still got 24 points, 8 boards, and 6 dimes, but another bad shooting night. But he got a lot more help than the Philly duo did. All of the Knicks starters hit double figures. Josh Hart, huge night. 21 points, 15 boards. Mentioned on previous episodes how I think he's one of the best rebounding guards in the league, and that 15 rebound night surely helps with that. But despite these crazy numbers, the game would come down to wild moments at the end of the game. Philadelphia was up 5 points with 30 seconds to go. Jalen Brunson, one of the rare times his shot went down, it hit the rim, went straight up, came back in to make it a 2-point game. The Sixers threw it in to Tyrese Maxey, who fell down or got knocked down, depending on which fan base you are. But during that scramble, the ball would come out to Dante DiVincenzo, who would take a three. It would miss, but Isaiah Hartenstein, fighting on the glass, got the rebound, threw it back to DiVincenzo, and this time he'd knock it down, putting the Knicks up 1 in front of a crazy Madison Square Garden crowd. The Sixers, they were kind of passing it around late. It was a scramble, and Embiid chucked one up late at the buzzer, but it missed, and a crazy comeback for the Knicks. A lot of complaints about the officiating. They were saying there were some calls missed. It was physical, and I'm surprised nothing was called, and they let them play it out. But you could see the Sixers were quite disappointed with the refs. I guess there was a complaint made. I don't know what's happened of it yet, but that led us into Philadelphia for a wild Game 3. And Joel Embiid's still not looking 100%, and he knew the importance of holding home court. The Knicks did it at home. It was Philly's turn. So he took on the team. He put him on his back despite these ailments. That knee, he had a bulky knee brace. And we also learned why last year's MVP has been having some kind of weird moments with his face. It was revealed Joel Embiid's been dealing with Bell's palsy, which I just found out. It's a unexplained episode of facial muscle weakness or paralysis that usually resolves on its own, but it's uncertain how long it can last. That's crazy. But if you've noticed him like at the free throw line, his eye is just twitching out, or his jaw looks droopy, and a lot of people watching these games were concerned for his health. So he came out and said it, but he said, no excuses. I'm doing what I can. Every year something seems to happen, and you can't say why me. So he is taking the best mentality on facing this. But whoa, kudos to him. And what does he do despite all these issues? He goes out and scores 50 points on 19 shots. A 50 burger on 19 shots. Never done in the playoffs. So that you know he lived at the free throw line, going 19 for 21. He's a great shooter from the line. But he did it all. Maxey, again, his partner in crime, 25.7 dimes. Kelly Oubre Jr. giving them some help finally. 15 points was big. A lot of people didn't think Embiid should have even been allowed to continue in this game. While on the ground earlier in the game, Mitchell Robinson was going up for a shot. And yeah, Embiid grabbed it. I don't know if he was looking to put the ankle lock on or something, little Ken Shamrock, but he grabbed him. Luckily, Robinson didn't get hurt, but Embiid was assessed a flagrant one. Words were exchanged. It was a dirty play. He's lucky he wasn't ejected. And like I said, we're lucky Robinson wasn't hurt on that. But Robinson would get hurt later in the game, re-injuring that ankle that kept him out most of the season. Hate to see that happen. And he went down, and it seemed to kind of coincide with Embiid's numbers going up. He's a big, great defensive player, Robinson, so I'm hoping he can come back. But anyway, Brunson's shot was finally going down. He led the team with 39 points, and 4 of the 5 starters for the Knicks reached double figures. But DiVincenzo, 5 points in the game. They're going to need more than that. He had a big dunk. Like, don't get me wrong, this dunk is sweet. If you haven't seen it, he cocked that joint back and banged it. But the Sixers held on the home court as we expected. We knew this was going to be a tough series, and we'll see how the Knicks bounce back in Game 4 on Sunday. And it'll be interesting if Robinson can go. Like I said, a great defender that makes Embiid work hard and probably not going to let him eat a 50-burger on him. So that takes us to the Pacers and Bucks. From one crazy series to another, the number 3 Milwaukee Bucks taking on the number 6 Indiana Pacers. The Bucks were coming into the series without former MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's been dealing with that calf injury he picked up late in the season against the Celtics. And Damian Lillard wanted to show the Bucks faithful, hey, no worries. I'm back in the playoffs now after that missing him with the Trailblazers last time. He scored all 35 of his points in the first half as the Bucks grabbed the stranglehold on this game and never looked back. Kind of shell-shocking the young Pacers, who ironically looked like deer in the headlights facing the Bucks. Chris Middleton was big in this game, going for 23 points and 10 boards, and Bobby Portis Jr. grabbed a double-double in the starting lineup as well. Pascal Siakam, the lone Pacers starter with championship experience, led the way for the Pacers, reminding everyone that he's been a member of the All-NBA team twice in his career, once a second team, once a third team. He scored 36 points and 13 rebounds to lead the way for the Pacers as they fell to the Bucks. Game 2, the Pacers looked to have a little more confidence after that beatdown they took in Game 1. Again, Damian Lillard lights out in the first half, going for 26 before halftime. He finished the game with 34, so he only scored 8 in the second half, and he did get help through Brook Lopez's 22. Bobby Portis Jr. and Middleton also hit double figures, though Middleton was limping a lot throughout that game. But hey, Spicy P again showing out for the Pacers, making them look like that trade was amazing. Siakam finished with 37 points, 11 boards, and 6 dimes. First player to open the postseason with a consecutive 35-point and 10-rebound games since some guy named Wilt Chamberlain in '67. Anytime you're in a conversation with something Wilt did, you know it's pretty fucking good. The Indiana youngsters looked much more comfortable, and all their starters scored double figures. I almost did it again. Miles Turner and Canadian Andrew Nembhard both had 20 or more. Tyrese Halliburton, 12 points, 12 dimes in his double-double. Game 3's going down today, like right away. 3:30 afternoon start, so that's exciting, and a little afternoon dandy. I mentioned Middleton limping in Game 2. He's questionable for Game 3, so they could be going into Indiana, Milwaukee here with no Giannis. We know Giannis isn't playing. No Middleton, potentially. So Dame Dollar, he's going to have another hot start again. What's he going to go for? Is he going to go for 40 in the first half? I don't know. Make sure you watch the beginning of this game. Like I said, 3:30 in the afternoon. What's that about? But wrapping up the East, the Orlando Magic Cavaliers are 4-5 matchup. Much like the series I mentioned before, the Pacers and the Bucks, the young Magic looked a little overwhelmed by the bright lights of the playoffs. In Game 1 in Cleveland, the Cavs got off to a great start, and the playoff tested Donovan Mitchell looked playoff awesome, going for a game-high 30 points, leading the young but slightly more playoff-tested Cavaliers team, that young, tough front court that I've talked about all year. They got 16 points from Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Allen also had 18 rebounds, while Mobley had 11 boards and 3 blocks. Darius Garland chipped in 14 points and 8 dimes. Paulo Banchero, the all-star for the Magic, he led the team in scoring with 24, but the Magic shot only 33% from the field, and they just seemed a little rattled by the playoff intensity. So as Game 2 rolled around, the Cavs came out with that same tenacity they had in the first quarter in the last game, and it really helped them out. And what really didn't help the Magic was Jalen Suggs, kind of their defensive leader, going down early in the game. He returned later in that game, but after he went down, he was missed during that moment, and the Cavs would go on a little run there. Mitchell again leading the team with 23 points and 8 boards. But they had a little more balanced scoring. That front court again bullied the Magic. Jared Allen, 16 points, 20 boards, and 3 blocks. Mobley 17, Garland 15, Banchero again leading the Magic in scoring with 21 points. But he did have 6 turnovers, and the Magic again struggling from the field, again shooting sub 40%, finishing 36% on the night. So game 3 was big going back to Orlando. First game the Orlando Magic were having at home since 2019, and this crowd was raucous. The players seemed to respond in a big way to the crowd. And it was the Magic who would jump out to a quick start in this one, doing it on both sides of the floor, getting the Orlando faithful out of their seats. Banchero was phenomenal, again leading the Magic in scoring, but this time at a high efficiency. 31 points, 14 boards on 50% shooting. Everyone getting in on it. I mentioned the spark plug on the defensive end. Jalen Suggs, he was doing it on the offensive end, showing no ill effects of that injury he picked up the game before. 25 points and some highlight plays, including a sweet windmill showing off the athleticism. Franz Wagner chipped in with 16 points. Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, each getting double figures off the bench. This is the Magic team we've seen all season. They just needed some home cooking to remind them. The Cavs could not match the Magic's intensity, and they ended up getting crushed 121-83. Yeah, 38-point beatdown on the road. Jared Allen had 15 and Karis LeVert had 15 off the bench to lead the Cavs in scoring, but JB Bickerstaff pulled the plug early on this one. I can only imagine his disappointment as he expected his guys to come in and try to take a stranglehold on this series, but they've given this young Magic team life, and yeah, that game 4 should be exciting Saturday morning. So we'll leave the East. We're going out west. The number 1, number 8 matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. We knew the Pelicans were coming in, knowing they'd be out without the services of Zion Williamson, which was a huge bummer, as I mentioned. He picked up his injury late in the game against the Los Angeles Lakers in the play-in game. And much like other teams I've mentioned in this playoff week 1 recap we're breaking down here, the Thunder came out a little flat to start their game, much like a lot of these younger teams have. And the Pelicans, despite Zion's absence, were right in the game with these Western Conference winners throughout. The game was tied at halftime, and it really went back and forth. MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Canadian, was massive in this game, scoring a game-high 28 points, including a huge bucket late to put the Thunder up late. CJ McCollum would make a shot to cut the lead to 1, and then rookie Chet Holmgren would get fouled. He'd make 1 of 2 free throws to make it a 2-point game with just seconds to go. CJ McCollum was getting harassed by Thunder's rookie, Cason Wallace. Credit to Coach Mark Daigneault having your rookie in at that point of the game. But CJ McCollum would still get a rushed look for the win, but he'd catch all iron. And the young Thunder would get a very important playoff win in a game that the Pelicans almost stole late. I mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's scoring. He got help from J-Dub, one of the Jalen Williams, the Santa Clara one, who had 19 points. And the rookie I mentioned before, Chet Holmgren, 15 points, 11 boards, and 5 blocks. That's a playoff debut. Trey Murphy III led the Pelicans in scoring with 21 points. McCollum had 20 points on 9 for 22 shooting. Former Raptor Jonas Valanciunas, 13 points, 20 boards. But Brandon Ingram, he had a night to forget. 12 points on 5 for 17 shooting. Tough shooting night that did not help the Pels steal that one on the road. They were close, but big Game 1 win for the young Thunder. In Game 2, the Thunder did not appear to be bothered by the lights of the playoffs. They did not start slow like they did in Game 1, and they kind of grabbed this game by the reins. The Pelicans were staying in it, and they looked like they could maybe have a run, but near the end of the third quarter, their spirits just looked broken, and the Thunder would go on a huge fourth quarter run, blowing this game up and winning by 32. It was much closer until that fourth quarter there, but when it was all said and done, another big night by Gilgeous-Alexander, scoring 33 points to go along with 5 dimes. All 5 starters in double figures. Again, rookie Chet Holmgren, he's been playing great in the playoffs. I know it's just 2 games there, but 26 points, 7 boards, 2 blocks. Jalen Williams, Santa Clara had 21 points. Lou Dort, 15, and Josh Giddey, 13. The Pelicans almost had their entire starting lineup scoring double figures. Trey Murphy had a real fall off from Game 1, only finishing with 8 points. But like I said, the Pelicans just looked to give it up at one point, which is very unlike a Willie Green coach team. Game 3 goes on in the Bayou Saturday afternoon, so I'm interested to see how the Pelicans bounce back in front of their wild crowd. We know the Pelicans bench seems to turn it up a notch at home, especially Jose Grand Theft Alvarado, so we'll see if they can try to get back in the series and get one back on the Thunder, or else this could be ending early. Which brings us to the number 2, number 7 matchup, the Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers, the jersey I'm wearing right now. Many wondered if the Lakers could get a win over the Nuggets, and this is because they've kind of owned them a bit, dating back to last year's Western Conference Finals when the Nuggets swept the Lakers on their way to their franchise's first NBA championship. In Game 1 in Denver, the Lakers got off to a great start, grabbing a double-digit lead. LeBron looking great, dropping 19 in the first half, which is still amazing considering how long we've seen this guy play. He was drafted, and I was still in high school. This is mind-boggling. But as the game went on, the Nuggets would start to come back, reminding everyone that they are the defending champions. Really changing the game was the offensive rebounds. Aaron Gordon had a double-double, 12 points and 11 boards, with 6 of them being on the offensive end. All the Nuggets starters hit double figures. Nikola Jokic leading the way with 32 points, 12 boards, 7 dimes. Jamal Murray had 22, KCP had 12, Michael Porter Jr. had 19. And it's really amazing, the mental toughness of Michael Porter Jr. right now, with everything he's been dealing with. We've talked about it on his show. His brother, Jonte Porter, who was with the Raptors, banned from the NBA for his involvement in betting. Another brother of his, Coben Porter, sentenced to 6 years in prison for killing a woman in a drunk driving crash last year. A lot on this guy's mind, but he's been really performing when asked here. I mentioned LeBron's amazing first half. He cooled off a bit in the second, but man, huge night still. 27 points, 8 assists, 6 boards. Anthony Davis, he's been playing great all year, and he's been healthy. He scored 32 points, 14 boards, 5 dimes, and 4 blocks. Russell and Reeves, they didn't do a lot. They each got 13, and it was definitely not enough as the Nuggets continued their winning ways against the Lakers, winning Game 1. Game 2, the Lakers looked even more motivated to break this losing streak against Denver. Anthony Davis was unstoppable in the first half. LeBron, again, defying age, looked phenomenal. And the Lakers were getting a lot more help from D'Angelo Russell, who finished with 23 points, 7 3-pointers. And this led to the Lakers being up by 20 points in the third quarter. But much like Game 1, we know the Nuggets don't quit. Jokic would lead the team back with MPJ chipping in with 22, AG scoring 14, and Christian Braun scoring 10 off the bench in 13 minutes. It'd be Jamal Murray, though, who would really step up. The Nuggets were still down 10 going into the fourth quarter, and for some reason, the Lakers went away from AD, the guy who was dominating all game. They just said, you know what, we don't want you to shoot anymore. This opened the door for the clutch Canadian, Jamal Murray, to wake up in the fourth. He was struggling. He could not hit the side of a barn with his shot. But he missed 13 of his first 16 shots, but he turned it up in the fourth. And with the game tied, LeBron James had a wide open 3 to take the lead. It rimmed out, and Nuggets head coach Mike Malone, he's like, we're not going to call a timeout. We're going to play it out. The game's tied here. Ball goes to Murray's hands. He dribbles it up, goes into the mid-range, and hits a tough fadeaway over Anthony Davis as the buzzer goes. Crazy shot. Nuggets win 101-99 after, like I said, being down 20 earlier in the game. Murray said he didn't even see it go in. He could just tell by the crowd that it hit net. Wow. What a game. And you could see AD after the game in the press conference leaving, LeBron leaving. A tough loss. The Lakers felt they had that one and got it ripped away at the last second. So how would they respond to that going into Game 3 back to LA? And just like the 2 games prior, the Lakers started off hot, grabbing a 12-point lead in the first half. And Anthony Davis, again, it's like they remembered, wow, this guy's really good. They went to him, 33 points, 15 rebounds. LeBron's still doing his thing, 26 points, 9 dimes, 6 boards. And Austin Reeves, it was his turn to step up, 22 points. But the parallels to the previous 2 games, they continued, and the Nuggets came back. This time they take the lead and hold it firmly. Anytime the Lakers looked to come back, you never really felt threatened that the Nuggets would give up the lead. Jokic, 24 points, 15 boards, 9 dimes, almost getting another triple-double. Jamal Murray, 22 points, 9 dimes, even though he had another rough shooting night. But it'd be the other studs who stepped up. I mentioned Aaron Gordon, his prowess on the offensive rebounding board in Game 1. He had a career high, 29 points in Game 3 to go along with 15 rebounds and just killing it on the glass. Michael Porter Jr. was showing off that silky jump shot, 20 points on 50% shooting. He had 10 rebounds to make it a double-double. But, man, some of those shots MPJ was hitting, fadeaways, tough guys in his face. They're like demoralizing shots. So the Nuggets take it, going up 3-0 in the series. And no one has ever come back 3-0, down 0-3 to win a playoff series ever. So the Lakers have their work cut out for them. And D'Angelo Russell, who lit it up in game 2, he really fell apart in game 3. 0-7 from the field. And late in the game, you could see him on his phone, checking shit out on his phone, ignoring the huddle. So we'll see. Mate. This series could be over. Another sweep, game 4 in LA. That's why I had to wear the Lakers jersey again, because might not get another chance to wear it all season. So this brings us to Phoenix and Minnesota, a series that could potentially go 3-0. It's trending that way. You have the Suns taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves, the number 3-6 matchup. Timberwolves hosting their first playoff series since 2004, and the crowd was right into it from the get-go, but sounding like a broken record here. Young players on the Wolves started the game, a little iffy from the playoff atmosphere, but after the first quarter, young superstar Anthony Edwards, he woke up. He was chatting shit to future Hall of Famer Kevin Durant. This 22-year-old talking shit, backing it up. This had all the Wolves feeding off his energy. Edwards finished with 33 points and an efficient 33 points, also chipping in 9 boards and 6 dimes. Karl Anthony Towns had 19, Rudy Gobert 14 points and 16 boards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker 18 points off the bench, Naz Reid 12 off the pine. While we're talking Naz Reid, shout out to Naz Reid winning 6th Man of the Year award. Great season coming off the bench for the Wolves and really stepped up when Cat went down with his injury. Naz Reid is one of 6 players to win the award before the age of 25. He was one of the top-rated players coming out of high school, and he went to LSU. And after one season, he decided to go to the draft, where he'd go undrafted, but he's worked his way into the player he is today. Congrats to him on winning that award. I personally thought Malik Monk of Sacramento was going to win it. I know he picked up that MCL injury late in the season, which could have cost him the hardware, but I have no issue with Naz Reid winning this. He fully earned it here. Congrats to him. But we'll go back to the game with the Suns. I mentioned the Wolves' heroics. KD led the way with the Suns with 31, but the other part of the big three did not show up. Booker didn't shoot well, finished with 18. Bradley Beal only had 15. And the guy who I said strangely will be the most important piece to this team's success, the Phoenix Suns, Grayson Allen. He had to leave the game with an ankle injury, which was tough because he's kind of been the guy they've been expecting Eric Gordon to be. So the Suns lose big, dropping by 25 in game 1. Game 2 started off a little more even, and the Suns would actually take a lead going in the halftime. And after Edwards' huge game 1 where he had 33, he really struggled in game 2, scoring 15 points on 3 for 12 shooting. So the Suns won, right? Well, not exactly. Grayson Allen would try to play and re-injure that same ankle in game 1, leaving the game. And after that, it seemed to kind of wake the Wolves up. Edwards was cold, but the rest of his team showed up, showing off the depth. Jaden McDaniels, not really known for his scoring, more known as defending, scored a career-high 25 points, go with 8 boards. Mike Conley Jr. and Rudy Gobert each had 18. Karl Anthony Towns scored 12, and Alexander Walker again hitting double figures off the bench. Those guys carried the team while Edwards struggled. And after Grayson Allen left the game for the Suns, their high-octane offense really never got going. KD, 18 points. Devin Booker leading the way with 20. Beal, again, only 14. Eric Gordon did what we kind of expected him to do more, coming off the bench and scoring 15, but it was not enough. This is not the Phoenix Suns that we saw owning the Minnesota Timberwolves all season. And if Grayson Allen can't go in Game 3, he's listed as questionable. This could be a series going down to 0-3. I'm expecting 2 of these big 3. It's probably going to be KD and Booker. But Beal, you got to step up, man. This could go to 0-3. I know it's going back to Phoenix, and it's not really a series till the home team loses, as they say. But this could get ugly real quick. We'll see what happens. Game 3 goes down tonight in the desert, Friday night. Mavericks and Lakers. This series was the one I was most happy. Mavericks and Clippers. Jeez, I just saw LA and ran with it. But this series is the one I was most hyped to see. The number 5 Dallas Mavericks and the number 4 Clippers. Like I said last week, the winner of this series could be the NBA championship. The Clippers hosted the Mavs to open the series, and they were starting without Kawhi Leonard, who was still dealing with knee inflammation. And the Clippers came out with some force, dominating the Mavericks, especially that second quarter. They outscored the visitors 22-8. James Harden looked like vintage James Harden, scoring 28 points, 8 dimes, with only 1 turnover. Paul George, 22 points. Zubac played massive, owning the owning the paint with 20 points and 15 rebounds. Russell Westbrook dropping 13 off the bench, including an alley-oop that really got the crowd going on a nice pass from Harden. Despite that massive deficit, the Mavs never gave up and surprisingly made the game somewhat interesting late. It was obviously too little too late, and that dynamic duo, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the league. I've mentioned that about Maxey and Embiid, but Luka and Kyrie got to be up there. Luka finishing with 33 points, 13 boards, and 6 dimes. Kyrie at 31 points, PJ Washington 11. But other than that, none of the other Mavericks showed up, and the Clippers took game 1 by 12 points. Game 2, the Mavericks looked a little more prepared, and they had to be because Kawhi Leonard was making his return to the lineup for the Clippers. But it almost made the team a little more tentative otherwise. A lot of plays looked forced through Kawhi, who did look a little rusty, shooting 7 for 17 from the field, finishing with only 15 points on the night. Harden played well again, scoring 22 points, 8 dimes, and 6 boards. And PG at 22 points again. Zubat, another double-double. So the Clippers were in good shape, but just the Mavericks were a little more clutch down the stretch here. And the dynamic duo got a little more help. Luka still putting up huge numbers, 32 points, 9 dimes, 6 boards. Kyrie dropping 23 and doing it in almost a poetic kind of way. PJ Washington scoring 18. Derrick Jones Jr. had 10. Starting center Daniel Gafford, who they picked up at the deadline, struggled. He didn't even register a point. But Max Kleber and rookie Derek Lively II filled in perfectly off the bench. The Mavericks held on to a 96-93 lead to win Game 2, send the series back to Dallas, tied it up at 1. And that's a big one. That's going on tonight as well. Can't wait for that one. Should be really exciting. So there you have it. Ren City keeping you up to date on the NBA playoffs. A quick recap within a recap, some inception work right here. Out east, Celtics and Heat tied at 1. Game 3 going down Saturday. Sixers' big win at home made it a 2-1 series with the Knicks. Game 4 going down Sunday. Pacers are hosting the Bucks in Game 3, probably happening right now. So if you're listening, you're probably watching that game too. And if you're watching it after, well, we'll see who wins. I'm expecting the Pacers to win Game 3 and go up 2-1 in that series. It's tied up at 1. We'll see if Middleton suits up today. That leaves the Magic and Cavaliers series, where you have the Cavs leading 2-1 going into Game 4 on Saturday, where the Magic are going to try to equalize it. They're feeling good. The West and out West, you have the Thunder having that 2-0 lead over the Pelicans, with Game 3 being played tomorrow, Saturday afternoon. The Nuggets, who just beat the Lakers in LA to move to 3-0 in that series. The Nuggets could complete the sweep on Saturday in LA. Like I said, tough work for the Lakers as they have an 11-game losing streak to the Nuggets. Is it going to go to 12 as they get knocked out of the playoffs? I don't know. The Suns host the Timberwolves down 2-0 in their series. Game 3 going down tonight. Like I said, the Suns looking to hold home court. And the series I mentioned lastly in the recap has the Clippers and Mavericks all tied up at 1, with Game 3 going down. And tonight, I'm expecting the Mavericks to win that one. We'll see. Kind of reflecting on my picks that I made from last week, my predictions, they're looking pretty good. Either kind of tied or winning, other than the Suns. I had the Suns beating the Wolves, but hey, no one at home is lost yet in that series. The Suns could get back into it with a win tonight, but we'll see. If they go down 3-0, that could be tough. But trophy-wise, I'm also 0-2. I mentioned Philadelphia's Tyrese Maxey winning Most Improved. Like I said, I thought Kobe White of Chicago would get it. And for Sixth Man of the Year, Naz Reid of Minnesota taking home the hardware, where I had Malik Monk winning it from Sacramento. I didn't make a pick for the Clutch Player of the Year, but Steph Curry took it home, which seems fitting, even though he's not in the playoffs. But including other hardware not yet announced, I chose Luka Doncic for MVP, my boy Victor Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, which has never been done in NBA history until now, hopefully. Coach of the Year was the toughest for me, and in my prediction episode at the end of the regular season where I was calling trophies, I said whoever would finish top of the West would take this home. It was either going to be Chris Finch of Minnesota or Mark Daigneault of OKC. I took Mike Malone kind of out of the mix, but with Mark Daigneault and OKC winning the West, I have Daigneault taking home the hardware. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning in again. So much great basketball going on. Love to see it going on. I hope you're tuning in and seeing this great stuff. There's been occasional blowouts, but blowouts just mean the next game's going to be that much better. So tune in, hold your follow through, watch it go swish, and tune in again. Thanks again for coming, you guys.